Hi. Good morning, everyone. This is December 23rd, and this is our last IPython Dev meeting of the year. We are getting to the point where Hackpad is basically unusable.
And next one will be Jupyter Meeting officially.
And what's that?
Next one will be Jupyter Meeting officially.
Next one will be the Jupyter meeting, and we will be doing Hackpads. At least, I would say at least for a year, one every 3 months. I'm not sure that I want to do one every month just because I'm going to lose track of which one is which or where they are, and I don't want to have to keep bookmarking one new file every month, but at least one every few months. Okay, let's get started with 7278. Okay, Min, this is a PR by Min.
Yes. So Cyril asked to remove the necessity to have IPython ending because you have a custom backend that store a notebook as Markdown, and basically it's painful because we have the file prefix from before, which is still redirected, and it will be easier to remove the file prefix. So do we just drop the it was already deprecated like in IPython 2.0. So do we remove it now, or do we wait one more version? And the second thing is, do we still enforce IPython on the front end so that people can still patch it with extension, or do we allow notebook to be named something else and let the backend decide whether or not it's a notebook or not?
So the redirect is easy, right? I mean, the redirect is easy enough. I think that's fine. I mean, if it's been deprecated for a long time, and these are local redirects, these are not public, these are not NBViewer redirects, right? I mean, the only URLs that I worry about keeping stable for a long time are NBViewer links because those things have been pasted everywhere and tweeted everywhere, and so these are local URLs. I think this is fine. Let's see what Cyril says. I see a minor problem with renaming, though. I use MD files for my custom IPython extension. Renaming them in the notebook UI seems to mess up the name and to enforce the IPython extension. Oh. I mean, I think what Min says is good. I mean, he already made it possible to change that. Oh, Thomas says it's local, but people embed them. Oh, will this break if we drop the redirect with IPython? Will it?
No, I guess it's a file. If people still embed files in Notebook, that's with the /files prefix, will break. Because if they link a local notebook and they embed an image which is in a current directory with /files/ the name of the file, then this will break.
Ah, but it's only the redirect with the files prefix. Yeah. Okay.
I think it's fine because you need to update your notebooks to version v4. So it means that if you update notebooks to v4, you also need to update files URL.
Because we don't support that redirect at all anymore. The files that files prefix.
That's what means proposed to drop.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I'm probably in favor of it. It definitely cleans up some subtle parts of how our server is working with the different types of files.
Yeah, it does. It is going to break content for people, though. It is going to mess up. I mean, it's fixable, but it is going to mess up their content.
One of the problems is we have no way of warning users to update. It's deprecated for one version, so at least a year now, and people still don't know not to use it. I mean, only a few people know that they had to use it a long time ago. I think people that deals with this file prefix know what they are doing, and they will know to remove it.
Oh, but hold on. It looks like he still has logic to handle this.
Yeah, and you want to remove it.
Oh,
That's what it says in the beginning of the PR. Like second comment, URL was deprecated in 2.0. I can fix it easily enough, but it would be simpler to remove support for the deprecated redirect. Just need to decide on which to do there.
okay. So he currently in this pull request has support for /files still, but there's a test broken.
He can fix it, so he can add support, re-add support, but he wants to drop it.
Okay, yeah, he can fix the broken test. He could fix the broken test, but instead he wants to just clean it up and remove that altogether.
Yep.
This one falls into the category of actually breaking user content.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I'm inclined to keep it for a while longer. Yes, it's ugly. Yes, we are starting to carry ugly, crufty code.
So on the things to drop for Jupyter 1.0?
So actually, here's a question for Matthias. Does this? I mean, this relates to content. Does this in any way affect the Google Drive support in a way that we should get resolved before?
It will probably affect Google Drive if people want to link to other Google Drive files. It will be painful to handle the files URL thing.
It will be better to have it?
No, to remove it.
Oh, to remove it. Okay, that's what I was wondering about.
I mean,
and we will probably not support it in Google Drive because it's deprecated on IPython, so we have no reason to support it.
yeah, Thomas says, embedding files is tricky in Google Drive either way because the kernel sees different files from the server. That's true. They're seeing different file systems. Unless people are running from a locally mounted Google Drive directory that appears local via the local client on Windows or Mac, if they're doing it via the content management API. So my inclination of this one is not to do the removal now. We can look into it for Jupyter 1.0. We could look into it later and kind of see what the impact of Google Drive is. The other thing that we can do is we could do some work with the NBViewer backend and basically do some indexing of the contents of the notebooks to do these kinds of searches. For example, to get some statistics. What percentage of notebooks out there are using, because that regular expression we can recognize. Even if it's not completely perfect, at least we can do some quick and dirty analysis of that regular expression. And if we find that it's a significant fraction of usage who has that, it's one story. If we basically say out of every notebook that has been shared in NBViewer in the last 6 months, not a single one has this, well, that's a different story, right? Completely rare breakage. So it just occurred to me that maybe we can use that backend indexing a little bit more aggressively to help us answer questions like this. But I am inclined not to break sort of users' content here. I do think that right now we have a lot of kind of users for whom IPython just works and who are never on our mailing list, never on Stack Overflow. They'll never see these conversations. They'll never see Gitter, and that's an audience that we actually want to reach. And we don't want that audience to feel that every time something like there's an update now. I'm about to teach this semester, and all of my notebooks broke, right? And I have 30 lectures that have a bunch of embedded images. Oh, and by the way, we have no way of doing global search and replace on notebooks. So fixing that is either an endless manual process through the UI, or people have to basically do it with low-level tools against the JSON files. And that's something that a non-technical, a user who's not very technical in this type of thing is going to really struggle with, right? And so the job of manually fixing 30 notebooks or 50 notebooks that have tons of embedded URLs for a user who's not comfortable with low-level grubby command line tools that can do multi-file search and replace on raw JSON is going to be a pain in the ass, because doing that through the UI is going to basically require manually hunting and visually inspecting Markdown files. I think we should keep that. This is one of those things where we should impose the pain on us, not on the users, I think.
No, this is a case where we may be able to just auto-migrate those URLs for users.
Yeah.
It's
It's not,
kind of tough because some users actually have files which is in the file subdirectory.
Yeah, but we could suggest that. But yeah, I think making that migration now, forcing that right now, is a bit too aggressive, and certainly not the kind of decision that I want to be taking when we're trying to stabilize 3.0. So.
yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I think we should try in the long term to remove it, but we need to remove it in a way that's less painful for users.
Exactly. We can, yeah. Thomas says we could offer a migration tool that actually checks if there's an actual files directory in case it would be a valid thing, and if not, does the migration. He says that 2 to 3 does similar things. All right, let's do that. Matthias, can you type in that PR, kind of the summary of this, since Min is not.
I'm doing that on the hackpad, and I will write a recap on the PR.
Perfect, thank you, sir.
So require
JavaScript.
So the way we used to use require was to use define a module where you give a list of the module name you want, and then you write an anonymous function that takes as parameters variables that will correspond to the module. And the second way of writing that is just to use define function require, and after use like the syntax you can see on the hackpad. And Thomas is not really thrilled with the second syntax because basically require.js will use the function toString signature plus some regular expression to change how it's written, to rewrite what has been written above. So we are already using that in master in one of the JS files. We are using that on Google Drive for quite some time, and we don't have any issues with it. I just think that Thomas is not super thrilled with the second way of writing it.
He says if it's standard or required, for required JS, I don't mind. Is it the standard? I mean, this is one of those things. We're finding a lot of things we don't particularly like in the JavaScript side of things.
It's in standard. It's in requires.js docs. Lots of modules use that. And I think it's much better to refactor because you don't have conflict when two people add modules. It's much more easy to read.
Yeah.
Nothing very. It's how NPM and Browserify does it too.
Yeah.
So it is kind of standard across the different tools in JavaScript.
Yeah, I definitely prefer the syntax of the second one a lot more. The fact that it's done as a horrible transformation doesn't thrill me, but.
Yeah.
And so when we refactor a module that has the old version, do we migrate to the new one?
Might as well. I mean, is it something that has a huge code impact to the point where it should be aggressively done?
No, but I mean when we refactor and we need to change something in one module, that's the import, you rewrite with the new version.
Might as well. I mean, it probably takes 2 minutes to do that, so yeah, might as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with Thomas. I'm glad I'm not the one who has to maintain that mess because it probably is a bit horrible. But if it is the standard that community adopted, hey, they did it.
We should send this to Min as a Christmas present.
Okay, design PRs.
We could assign him an issue to make this change in all of our JavaScript. And Merry Christmas, Min.
Blocker 3.0 critical assigned to Min, and we all pile up on the PR.
Yeah, I mean, after for Jupyter 1.0, I would like to try using ES6, who has lots of new features and real importing and loop scope variable and everything, which is nice. But that's a discussion for later.
Yeah. All right. Design PRs, just merge and try it. Yeah, I've given my feedback. I'm happy. I'm okay with basically that approach, sort of merge and see how it feels. I think we've had feedback, and I think we're converging, and I do want to cut our design discussions a little bit quicker, so that I think our ability to approach asymptotic perfection on design is really an asymptote that is at infinity. And so I would rather live with imperfection today than bliss in eternity.
Although I don't know I mean, John has tried out a lot of different things, and I don't know what state the pull requests are in relative to all the things he's tried.
I think it's in the state general consensus. The only thing is, I think Fernando didn't like the spacing at the top of the page in the notebook.
Yeah.
Mostly everybody else seemed to like that. The PR
I'm fine.
is still in the state with the spacing.
Yeah, I know, and I mean, it's one of those things. Not crazy about it, but I would rather move forward and use it. And if it really drives me crazy, we can revisit it. It's one of those things.
Okay.
I'm happy using it and seeing how it feels, and we will all get a feel for it. And maybe I get used to it and it doesn't bother me, or maybe it starts driving other people crazy like me, or maybe it's just not a great big deal and it doesn't matter too much.
Yeah. No, I'm fine. I'm more than fine with us merging and iterating master if we need to. I mean, it and also part of it is some of the design PRs that John has open sort of go together, like the new menu and the terminals tab.
Yeah.
You really need to use both of those together to see how it works.
And get a feel for it. So
John, on the only question is, have they been code reviewed?
Yes, so
yeah.
just minor comments on like using variables instead of hard-coded variables, but hard-coded colors, but it's fine.
Okay, so they've been reviewed enough. Then yeah, I think they can be merged.
Yeah, and yes, modulo review. If there's outstanding code level feedback, then that should be addressed.
Just no more design discussion, just code review and then merge.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if somebody notices something atrocious, we can look at it. But I would say that we're probably at the point where we should just use that.
Min made one other suggestion that he has been trying, and that is to add a margin to the right side of the cells to make them more centered on the page. But I think we can explore that in a separate PR. Like, there's no particular.
Solve our. Remember when we were talking about buttons? We could put our buttons over there.
Yes, no, but I think that's a completely new, separate design issue, and let's not. Yeah.
Okay, and last one, there is a post on Guido that say that for Python 3.5, if I understand correctly, he's thinking of using annotation to do gradual typing on Python, which means that annotation won't be completely free anymore to do whatever.
Yeah.
Not sure I interpret that correctly. I mean, I don't know if it's just like in his head, if you want to read the post. So it means that we would have to back out from annotation to use widgets. Like, you could not use like these fixed things in Python 3 annotation. So do we either say, no, we are using it, find another syntax for your fucking typing annotation, and try to push that annotation can be used for some things, or do we just say, like, we don't know what Python 3.5 will do, and we don't want to have this weird thing that only works for Python 3.4?
I mean, if this is going to go into the language, it's not like we have a whole lot of options, right? I mean, unfortunately, this is complex, and I haven't had a chance to read these posts. It's funny. This is based on stuff that Jeremy Seek created, and I knew him back when he was in Colorado. He used to be faculty in Boulder, but he seems to have gone to Indiana, to IU. But I met him back when he was at CU Boulder.
If you know Guido and you can speak to him or know whether or not it will be in Python 3.5 or if it's just thinking and it might be another syntax.
Well, no, I saw this go by on Python Ideas. So they are actually discussing this seriously. He posted this as a proposal on the Python Ideas mailing list. So he is serious about it.
Yes.
Will they use the actual annotation syntax with only colon, or will they use something which is more Haskell-like or Julia-like with 2 colons?
I don't. That's the thing. I haven't had time to read the thread and I think the thread is ongoing, if I remember correctly. Let me see.
Okay, so that's something I guess we should have a look at, because we are using annotation right now, and it will break us if it goes in.
Type hinting kickoff. I mean, the thread is alive right now. They're discussing this like in the last few days. It's a very active thread.
They should write PEPs as notebooks.
Yeah. So look, I would say we just don't know right now.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen with the language itself, but obviously anything that happens with the language, we simply have to accept, right? I mean, there's nothing we can do.
Yes, sure, but you are someone who has a foot in scientific community, and I know you have some weight for things like that when you speak to Guido. So you could say that we need annotation for scientists later, and that you would prefer strongly to have another syntax for typing exactly. So I mean, if I go on Python IDs and say something, nobody will listen to me. If you do, or if Brian do, you will probably have more weight that you would like another syntax.
Yeah, so, but actually, the funny thing. So let me try to understand. Is the concern that the typing information, that if annotations are used for typing, that they conflict with our usage for widget values?
Yes,
they do. Okay. They definitely will.
No, I mean, actually, honestly, I think here we should back out because I did have a conversation with Guido about this a long time ago, where I said it would be awesome if annotations did go in for type information, because type is one of the things that we need for performance and for memory layout reasons, and that having type information in the language, I mean, the weakest part, the big weakness that Python has compared to things like Julia is actually the lack of any type information that the language knows about. The language has runtime knowledge of types, but it has no semantic knowledge of types, and that is a humongous weakness of the language. And I did actually argue quite a bit with Guido and Nick Coughlin that it would be wonderful to push more annotation-based information in the direction of types, not less, because I think that is something the language desperately needs. And that would make things like Numba much cleaner, and Numba-like things possible at the language level everywhere, and potentially integration with Python much cleaner. And so I think this is one where we should figure out if annotations go in the direction of giving the language a more robust type structure. I would say great, and we'll figure out something else, because it's such a structural weakness of Python, and it's such a good opportunity to fix it with something clean in the language that if Guido can run with this, man, more power to him.
I was just wanting to point out that we might have to back out from widget, and whether or not we should tell the user right now in the documentation, or even maybe deactivate widget for Python 3 annotation. Because if we start having annotation on Python 3 and after 3.4, and it's
we should definitely remove. I think we might want to remove all examples of using Python 3 style annotations for now. I mean, just examples. We may not have to deactivate the code so we don't break the code, but at least stop encouraging that until this sort of settles down. And I suspect something like this is going to fly, by the way. Whatever we say, even if even if we said that we don't want it, I suspect this is going to go through. Guido has been working on this for a long time.
No, sure. I'm fine with type annotation. I just want to be sure that it might also work with widget, and I just want to be careful with that. I mean, I'm also really happy that Python gets typing and we can increase speed and all this sort of stuff.
I mean, so Thomas says that they might work for both. So I mean, if we can find an intersection of that space where we can use it, obviously great. I think if there's a conflict between what we're trying to do, an explicit conflict between what we're trying to do and types, we take second seat, and we let kind of the type we let the type machinery take precedence. If we can piggyback on it, great.
Yeah. So
I'll read more about this, and I'll read the threads, and this is complicated enough that it would be good, especially if Jonathan and Brian, who also have a lot of interest in the widgets, also have a read of the threads to get a feel for what the Python core people are thinking.
Yeah, I also just sent a short email to Peter Wang asking if they have anyone at Continuum who's involved in those discussions as it relates to like Numba and things like that.
Yeah. All right. Do we have anything else?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. Have a good break, and we'll be in touch. We'll probably skip next week and then resume the week after the New Year.
All right. Good.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Happy holidays.
See you, everyone.